It is my privilege to introduce this morning Amy Demmer, who is a UUCD member. And she has been the executive director of Hartley Nature Center, which is one of Duluth's most beloved institutions since August 2024. Hartley plays a unique role in the Twin Ports as both a green space and an environmental learning hub. And as an aside, I briefly considered introducing today's forum with a comprehensive slideshow of my very own adorable child catching bugs and other stuff at Hartley over the years. But then I thought better of it. Anyway, Amy brings more than 15 years of executive nonprofit leadership to her newish role at Hartley. She holds a Master of Advocacy and Political Leadership with a nonprofit concentration from the University of Minnesota Duluth. And prior to taking the helm at Hartley, she served as Community Development Director at yet another of Duluth's iconic organizations, the Zeitgeist Center for the Arts and Community, where she dedicated herself to strengthening local partnerships and community initiatives. I'm just so happy to have you with us today, Amy, and please take it away.
Hartley is one of those really special places. I have also had many people tell me that it's even the first place that they've had their first kiss. So, what many people don't realize is that behind the scenes, a small but mighty nonprofit organization helps to make much of what happens there possible. So, today I want to share a little bit about Hartley Nature Center's role we play in the park and how Hartley continues to grow its impact in our community. Hartley Nature Center is an independent nonprofit organization originally created by community members in the 1980s who believed that Duluth needed a place dedicated to environmental education. Those early supporters raised the funds to build the Nature Center, and the building opened in 2003. Today, we operate in partnership with the city of Duluth within the 660-acre Hartley Park. Every year, we welcome more than 200,000 visitors to the park, and about a third of those are visitors who come from more than 50 miles away. Through our programs, we directly serve over 10,000 students annually. Our mission is simple: to serve, to inspire lifelong. This is so hard with the tech online and make sure you get like all the pieces. Okay. Our mission is simple: to inspire lifelong connections to nature through education, play, and exploration. And in many ways, the park is a setting, but the Nature Center helps translate the beautiful landscape into a place where people learn, explore, and build lasting relationships with the outdoors. When most people think of Hartley, they picture the trails or the pond or Rock Knob. But as this program slide shows, there's actually a lot more happening here than what you see from the parking lot. Hartley serves as a hub for a wide range of programs, from youth education to accessible recreation to environmental stewardship. We're a relatively small organization with 8 full-time staff and a rotating team of seasonal and part-time educators. But together we support a surprisingly large amount of programming throughout the year. To build a future of lifelong connection to nature, we start at the beginning. We focus on early childhood experiences outdoors and build hands-on programs that grow alongside with children so that they can engage with nature at different stages in childhood. That journey begins with Nature Nook, a weekly program for toddlers and their caregivers where they gather for a story and they do a nature-based activity and then spend time exploring together outside. As the children grow, they can join our nature preschool for ages 3 to 5, where outdoor play and discovery are at the heart of the learning experience. Elementary age kids can continue that journey through our after-school nature club, or with summer or winter camps, where they spend extended time exploring the woods, conducting scientific inquiry, and developing confidence outside. We also reach a broad cross-section of youth through our school field trip program, welcoming over 2,500 students from 7 counties across the region. For many students, a field trip to Hartley is actually their first real time exploring outdoors. And they always start a little bit tentative, but you can watch as their confidence grows as they explore the woods with their classmates. And honestly, that transformation has been one of my favorite things to witness at Hartley. I wanted to share a story. One of my favorite moments that I saw last spring during a field trip, there was a little group of first graders, and they had come to the park for their very first visit. And many of them in that group really had, you could tell, had never really spent a lot of time in the woods. So as they were hiking along, one of the students suddenly stopped and shouted, "There's a frog!" And so immediately the whole group of first graders gathered around this little tiny frog. And it was the most amazing thing they had ever seen. And one of those kids looked up at the naturalist and she asked, wait, what? Like frogs? They actually live here? So that moment, it might sound really simple, but it is incredibly powerful. For that child, those woods stopped being something abstract and it became a living place full of discovery. So it's truly those moments that are often the beginning of a lifelong relationship with the outdoors. But we're not just thinking about today's kids, we're also thinking about the next generation of environmental educators. So through programs like our counselors in training program, internships for college kids, and AmeriCorps positions, we help young people explore careers in environmental education. Last year, we had an intern who had actually started to come to Hartley as a toddler in Nature Nook. And she was telling me how proud she felt to be standing in front of this group of kids teaching that next generation about nature in the very same place where she had first discovered it herself. And that is not the only time that happened. Those kinds of things happen often. Our goal is simple: to help young people build that confidence outdoors, a depth of environmental understanding, and then a lifelong relationship with nature. And for me, as a mother of a fifth grader and an eighth grader, I know that work is more important than ever. Today, fewer than 2 in 5 children spend time outdoors on a weekly basis, while screen time is on the rise. And research shows that disconnection from nature contributes to the rising levels of stress, anxiety, social isolation, and chronic health challenges. So programs like these are essential to help reconnect kids with the outdoors and with something that is truly essential to their lifelong well-being. One program we are especially proud of is our Nature Preschool, which just celebrated its 10th anniversary last year. Nature preschools are a part of a growing movement around the world that focuses on play-based outdoor learning, and Hartley was one of the first programs of its kind here in Duluth. At Hartley, children ages 3 to 5 spend a significant portion of their day outside every day, exploring the forest, observing seasonal changes, and learning through hands-on discovery. Instead of a traditional playground, the classroom is the woods. It's the trails, the pond, and the changing seasons. And through that experience, children develop important skills like communication, problem solving, collaboration, creativity, and what feels most important now, resilience. Research shows that nature-based early childhood education supports mental and physical well-being. It strengthens their social emotional development, and we're doing it while building school readiness. It is especially important for kids with challenges like ADHD or other behavioral challenges because the outdoor time and the more active play helps reduce symptoms from those challenges for those kids. So we actually have seen a really big increase of kids with behavioral challenges in our programs because they're finding so much success in the programs. But perhaps most importantly, for the mission, this kind of programming truly helps children from that early age to make that connection early on to nature, something that will stay with them for life. So we are so proud to have been quietly part of this growing movement for the past decade, and it's exciting to see that it's gaining momentum. In fact, Minnesota is now recognized as an international leader in nature-based early education, ranking 3rd in our country for nature preschools. So it's just wonderful to know that Hartley has been part of helping grow that movement right here in our own community. But Hartley's impact doesn't stop with children. We offer a wide range of public programs and workshops for the broader community. These things include citizen science projects, naturalist classes, community events, and volunteer opportunities that help people engage more deeply with the natural world around them. Our goal isn't just to give people access to the park, it is to help them feel comfortable and confident and knowledgeable about using it. Many people, the barrier to outdoor recreation isn't lack of interest, it's simply not knowing where to start or not having access to the right equipment. So we work to lower those barriers. We offer introductory recreation classes like biking and skiing, along with social group rides and ski events like Sip and Ski that help people connect with others while exploring the park. And we also provide affordable gear rentals. We have skis, snowshoes, bikes, kick sleds. We even have boots with little cleats on the bottom for the icy trails. That way anyone can come to Hartley, try something new, and experience the park in a way that feels welcoming and accessible. So every day we work to connect people to nature, from the 2,500 students on our school field trips to over 1,600 campers throughout the year and more than 47,000 teaching hours in our preschool program. The mission is alive and the impact is felt every day. In fact, I've had to stop wearing mascara to work because every day I get a little teary-eyed by how sweet are all the things I see happening all the time. But we also recognize that many people in our community face real barriers to outdoor access to green space. Some of the most important work that we are doing right now is focused on reducing those barriers and welcoming new people into outdoor spaces. Through our outreach program, we partner with youth serving agencies like Lifehouse, the Family Freedom Center, the Duluth School Community Collaborative, and many others to co-create customized, joy-based outdoor education experiences. Many of the youth we work with face barriers such as discrimination, limited transportation, lack of gear, limited access to a nearby park, and other challenges. So what we do is we design those programs with their agency around their specific needs. So sometimes that means bringing programs directly to them and being inside, if that's where the comfort level is. Sometimes it means going to them and going to the nearby park and doing something there, if that feels a little bit more comfortable. Other times it means picking them up with the Hartley van and bringing them to us. And usually it also means providing the winter gear, other things they need to be comfortable outside. But the goal is always the same, helping young people build that familiarity with the outdoors and eventually feel a sense of belonging in the park. And you can always tell when a former preschooler comes to Hartley with their school on a school field trip. They're like, hey, I went here. I'm going to show you the climbing tree. Let's go, let's go, let's go. But the cool thing is that we're now starting to see those same thing with the kids from our outreach programs. They'll step off the bus and they'll say something like, oh yeah, I know this place. This is where I learned to build a fire and we made pine tea. And it is in those moments that you realize that something has shifted. This park just isn't a new place anymore. It's their place. Last year, we partnered with 13 agencies and we served more than 550 youth through our outreach program. Our Nature Access Scholarship Fund also helps make our programs accessible to everyone. Not only does it provide preschool and camp scholarships every single year, it also helps to cover school field trips and transportation for buses that couldn't otherwise afford to come. Last year, we fully distributed the fund and provided over $8,000 in scholarships. We had over $25,000 in requests, so it never feels like enough, but it always feels really important. And again, the reason that this matters is because the goal is to make sure that people feel like nature is a place that they belong, that everyone belongs. So all of these programs, education, recreation, outreach, they all depend on something fundamental. They depend on the park itself, the forest, the streams, the wet meadow, the trails that all make Hartley such a special place. So now I want to shift gears a little and talk about something that's just as important as the programs we offer. It is the health of the land that makes those programs possible. It is an ecosystem that requires long-term care and stewardship. One thing that surprises people is that the forest that we see today at Hartley was not always the same forest. Historically, much of this land was cleared for farming. Hartley was once home to vegetable farms, dairy operations, maple syrup stands. And it was known, Guilford Hartley, the founder, was known as the lettuce king. It was actually the third largest celery farm in the state of Minnesota. Over time, the farmland was abandoned and it was used for a variety of purposes. It's been a Christmas tree farm. The Boy Scouts planted the pines in the 1940s as a project. There were World War II victory gardens in Hartley Park. In the 50s, local neighborhood kids would stock 1,000 brook trout in the pond every spring. And then, of course, there was the soapbox derby in the 1960s, where I have met many of the kids who participated in that program. Gradually, the forest returned, especially in the 1970s, as the Isaac Walton League and other conservation groups really started to initiate natural resource projects in the park and advocating for planning for the stewardship of the park, as well as advocating for a place for environmental education. And because of that history, the forest we see today is actually a recovering landscape. Past disturbances still affect the ecosystem through invasive species, altered water systems, and habitat changes. Healthy forests and streams don't just happen anymore. They require long-term care to be back to the way they were. One of the major focuses of our stewardship work in the park is Tisher Creek, which flows through Hartley Park and eventually into Lake Superior. This creek is part of the larger Lake Superior watershed, which means what happens in Hartley affects water quality downstream. Through the Tisher Creek Roadmap to Resilience, partners across the watershed came together to identify 85 projects along the whole watershed that are designed to improve the stream health. Because Hartley is the largest tract of public land within that watershed, we've been able to get started on tackling a number of those high impact projects right here in the park. Projects have included culvert replacement, invasive species removal, habitat restoration, and scientific monitoring of water quality and temperature. A great example of this work is the Stormwater Green Infrastructure Project completed last year by St. Louis County and the city of Duluth. I think that Carol Andrews came last year and gave you guys an in-depth conversation about this, which is awesome because she's so great and knowledgeable. So I'll kind of just gloss over this a little bit, but I think one of the coolest things about this project is they don't feel comfortable saying but they say one of the largest green infrastructure projects in the state, but that's because they don't know of any other larger ones, but they don't, they're very Minnesotan about it. So I would like to say it was the largest green infrastructure project in the state of Minnesota. Before this project, stormwater runoff from the neighborhoods around Woodland Avenue just flowed straight into Tisher Creek, untreated, and right on out to Lake Superior. But this green infrastructure is a series and system of vegetated ponds and wetlands that can capture 117 acres of stormwater and filter it before it goes into Tisher Creek. This system removes 11.3 tons of sediment and pollutant and salt and debris before that water reaches the creek and ultimately Lake Superior. This spring, we are actually opening a new exhibit at the Nature Center explaining this project more in depth and some of the larger watershed restorations in the park. So I invite you all to join us at the Nature Center and learn more. Looking ahead, there are some exciting restoration projects being explored. And one is the Tributary 7 restoration, which would remove debris and invasive species from a cold water tributary that flows into Tisher, which would help restore the habitat for brook trout. Another is the Hartley Pond feasibility study, which will explore options for improving the ecological health of the pond. Right now, the pond has become really shallow. It's like an average of 1.5 to 2 feet deep and warming at incredible rates due to the sediment accumulation, which is leading to a decline in the aquatic life of the pond. So this study will explore potential design options, and they expect to have results ready for public discussion in the next couple of years. But ultimately, all of this watershed-focused restoration and conservation work will contribute to the health of Lake Superior itself. And for those of you that like to fish, brook trout are an indicator species of stream health because they're really susceptible to warm water. So many of these efforts are targeted to increasing the naturally occurring brook trout numbers in Tisher Creek so that they no longer have to stock the pond. In addition to the Tisher Creek Roadmap, stewardship in the park is guided by the Hartley Natural Area Management Plan. This includes managing high-quality plant communities, removing more removal of invasive species. We talk about invasive species a lot. I'm going to say it many times. And restoring native habitat to support the long-term ecological health of the park. We use this to guide this landscape towards a healthier and more resilient future. Some days it feels like we are in an epic battle against buckthorn. Hartley suffers from a particularly bad strain called glossy buckthorn, and it is continuing to creep deeper and deeper into the forest. After many years of manually pulling, cut stump treatments, and shading, and a lot of other tools, we have been recently testing fire as a tool. Last fall, we hosted a biochar kiln demonstration to burn all of the buckthorn branches we had cut down and make it into soil amendments that we could spread on the soil and then replant this spring. We are also in conversation with the city about testing more prescribed burns, particularly on bad buckthorn patches. Low density prescribed burns was a traditional land management practice of the Anishinaabe and Dakota, and it may help to restore ecological health. Another favorite stewardship project when we get tired of talking about buckthorn is mapping and monitoring vernal pools for an amphibian habitat. Vernal pools are like little wetlands that are wet at some times of the year and dry at other times. And they are critical habitat for fairy shrimp, blue-spotted salamanders, and wood frogs, but they are at risk due to their disappearing nature. We have over 95 vernal pool locations identified in the park, and volunteers verify and monitor those pools throughout the growing season. Speaking of volunteers, they are a major force of conservation in Hartley. These incredible folks contribute over 700 hours annually to help protect the park. There are so many ways for people to get involved. You can learn. We have a sustainability series workshop starting this month every Thursday. There will be a variety of topics coming up. You can always share your knowledge by hosting a talk or tabling in the park. You can join us for restoration work days. You can participate in the citizen science projects like vernal pool mapping or data monitoring. Or you can grab a pair of buckthorn pullers available at our front desk and find your own patch of that crazy stuff and work to remove it. As I mentioned, we also have our new exhibit opening this spring that shares more details about our watershed work happening in the park. So please stay tuned for details. You can even join our stewardship committee and help guide the projects and plans happening in the park. Because the thing is, when people care for a landscape, it stops just being a place they visit. It becomes something they feel responsible for. I remember a volunteer recently sharing with me, she said, I have enjoyed this park for years, but this is the first time I feel like I'm giving something back to it. That's the power of stewardship. And it is true. Hartley Park is a place that our community cares for. Before I close, I just want to share one more story of something that happens at Hartley. Every once in a while, I meet someone who tells me they grew up next to Hartley or they played in Hartley as a kid. They have beautiful memories and a deep sense of place, belonging, and connection. And now they're back. They're bringing their own children or even their grandchildren. And they'll say something like, I learned to ski here when I was a kid. And now my daughter is learning in the same place. It is moments like that that remind me that Hartley, it's not just a place. It's not just a park. Sorry. It's not just a park. It's a place where memories accumulate across generations. Hartley Nature Center helps the park serve the community by educating thousands of kids each year, by connecting people to the environment and to outdoor recreation, by restoring the forests and streams, and caring for a treasured public landscape. Without the Nature Center, the park would exist, but it wouldn't have that same level of care, programming, or community engagement. Places like Hartley don't stay healthy and vibrant by accident. They stay that way because a community chooses to care for them. Thank you.